The other thing that happens a lot with Bitcoin is there's a lot of misinformation that gets put out there. So one of the things they say, there was an article that came out that, crypto is being used for Hamas right after the October 7th attack, right? Since then, Israel has killed somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 Palestinians, over 12,000 of them were children. But this is the part of the fear mongering Hamas is using crypto. And they just put these blanket statements out there to incite fear. And then someone hears it and goes, oh, yeah, that's why I don't like crypto, because Hamas is using it. What? Doesn't make any sense. The Congressman Emmer gets the head of FinCEN to admit that the Wall Street Journal article about crypto being used to fund Hamas was inaccurate and that terrorists prefer to use traditional services to move money. You want to know why? Because with the blockchain, you can track it. It's easy to track. But I want you guys to see this. Look at this.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank Chairman McHenry holding this important hearing today, and I want to thank you, all of our witnesses, for your testimony. On October 10th, 2023, the Wall Street Journal reported that between August 2021 and June 2023, Hamas received 41 million in digital assets, and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad received 93 million in digital assets. Undersecretary Nelson, is this Treasury's assessment too? Because the world's leading blockchain analytics firms have called this a misinterpretation of the data, and that the amount that any terrorist might have received is significantly small.
Misinterpretation of the data is a very polite congressional three-piece suit way of saying they lied. They're liars. They're big, fat, dumb liars. But we'll let this guy continue.
Thank you for that question, Congressman. And yes, I think the data assessment largely tracks with our own. The numbers noted in the Wall Street Journal piece talked about wallets, but not necessarily the sort of disaggregated among the wallets.
It's assets that people had in their wallets, as opposed to what was specifically going to the Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
That's what we think is most likely, and we also assess that terrorists still prefer, frankly, to use traditional products and services. But this is something that we are obviously monitoring very closely.
And I appreciate that. How much do you think actually got into the hands of Hamas or the Palestinian Islamic Jihad?
I think we can have a classified conversation about precise numbers or expectations. I think we have done, both Hamas and the PIDGE, a good job at identifying the virtual asset service providers that they've relied on and the financial facilitators that they have historically relied on that would tend to use virtual assets. So we don't expect the number is very high, particularly.
I'd love to take you up on that, because I sent a letter with several other members right after this erroneous Wall Street Journal report asking for specific information. So we'll take you up on that offer. Undersecretary Nelson, you said that digital assets are not the preferred means of terrorist financing, but I want to be clear, digital assets were not even a popular tool for Hamas or the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, correct?
I think that's correct, and one of the reasons that is because our work with our counterparts in Israel prior to October 7th.
I'll give you credit for that, but I'm going to reclaim my time, because I really want to make just a record here, because regardless, to be clear, Hamas is using crypto in relatively small amounts compared to what's been widely reported. That's correct.
That's our assessment.
Does Treasury have a responsibility to correct the record here? And perhaps this is involving some of the classified information you talk about. Because I understand that, like today, with FinCEN, Treasury has acknowledged that digital assets are not the preferred financial product for terrorists, but Treasury has the data to paint the correct narrative of crypto and how it's used. And instead, we have senators who are legislating on these false figures and major CEOs using these figures to inform their perspectives on digital assets. Sure, we can go to chain analysis and use their third-party reporting, but Treasury already has the data. So doesn't Treasury have a responsibility to correct the record here?
We put out a number of reports on illicit finance risk in the context of virtual assets, and I think we have clearly stated while there's not a significant uptake that we perceive.
That answer feels very like, well, blah, blah, blah. He called a point. Why don't you guys just say the truth? You have the information. Why don't you put out the truth? And then this Treasury guy gives one of those, I cannot confirm or deny, and I blah, 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 in corporate speak, blah, 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 double talk, blah, 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 cover my ass, double talk. Let's listen to more.
Currently, that it is an area of opportunity that we know terrorist groups could use, and we have seen some, not Hamas necessarily, but other terrorist organizations, particularly focused on the ability to use crypto to move their finance.
I appreciate that, but I'm talking about the misinformation that the Wall Street Journal has suggested, and that certain senators are doing, trying to base legislation on that would literally destroy innovation in this country. And I take it that you don't have a position then as to whether Treasury has an obligation to correct this record with the data that they have. It seems to me that they would. I want to thank you and your colleague for being here again today. And in my opinion, the Treasury must do a better job with all the data it has to paint an accurate narrative of digital assets and not perpetuate a false one. With that, Madam Chair, I yield back.
But bam! Wow, that was.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, sorry, he's going to go again. That was pretty bold, man. That's amazing that he's calling out the Treasury Department and saying, "Why aren't you guys just more accurate? Just you have the information, be more accurate." And he's saying you're propagating misinformation like what the Wall Street Journal did, and now there's people in the Senate and the Congress introducing these bills, Liz Warren, that are based on inaccurate information. He kept hammering that guy. That was impressive. The dirty face guy. So that means probably he's Catholic. That's probably Ash Wednesday. That's what that is. I was raised Catholic, but I don't practice anymore. But that's what that was. That's my guess is what that was. Didn't just walk to work today with like coal dust on his head and nobody said, "Hey, dude, you might want to." So that's what that is. Everyone keeps asking what that is. That means he's a Catholic. More than likely. That's Ash Wednesday, which I believe is today. Right? The dirty face guy should ask how the biggest terrorists in Gaza, which are the Israeli IDF, how's the IDF? Yeah, exactly. What a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Why, if we're going to talk about financing, like Hamas is not committing a genocide. No, I'm not pro-Hamas. This show is not pro-Hamas. But Israel has been bombing for 100 and some days now. And who's financing them? The United States. The United States outspends the next 12 countries combined on military. Combined. Our current military budget is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $860 billion. Next up is like Russia at 200 some billion, and then China's another like 200 billion. If we were to cut our military budget in half, we would still be outspending Russia and China $200 billion individually. We'd be outspending them by $200 billion if we cut our budget in half. And we're trying to make crypto the bad guy for funding terrorism. Number one polluter in the world is the United States military.